Yes, people back in the building, the Big Free Show back in effect. The NBA season is back. Opening night was last night. Well, I mean, the true opening night was on Wednesday. We saw a couple of openers, last season's Western Conference finalists battling it out after the ring ceremony for the Denver Nuggets. And then straight after that, we saw the Suns and the Warriors going at it in San Francisco. And then obviously last night, all the action, every team was in action. Well, not every team. The Bucks, they play tonight. The Sixers also play, I think, Friday. I think they start their campaign on Friday if it's not tonight. But yeah, hey, there's a lot to discuss, man. Even after just 2 days, there's a lot to discuss. So people, whilst you're in here, make sure you're hitting the like button, the subscribe button as well if you're new, hit the notification bell, all of that good stuff right there. You want to know why? Because we are covering the NBA from the start to the end. Regular season, all-star, playoffs, all of that good stuff right there. Man, like CM in the building. What you saying, my bro?
Man, it's good to be back. Weekly, consistent show. The Big Free Show is back, man. The Big Free Show is back. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Yanka, see you. Boy, man, I looked at the games when I woke up this morning. I checked some of them out, and I'm like, yo, there's a lot of stuff off the court as well. We got some news to speak about. So this is a beautiful time of the year. We got sports going left, right, and center. The NBA is here for a distraction from that foolishness on the football pitch. So I'm here for it, man. And SGA's MVP campaign has begun.
I like this talk, bro. I like this talk. I can't lie to you. Hey. But one thing before we begin, yeah, big up to Chino as well. I don't know where you're at, my bro. But when you're ready, man, just join us in it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Wherever you at, join us. We already text you in the group chat, and so we'll come through in it. But we gotta start with one topic to start. Obviously, the news came out. Let me just get a banner up. Actually, yeah, even Chino's predictions, we ain't even got them. He ran away. That's what we was gonna start with. He ran away last week. We didn't get his predictions. We're gonna get to them at some point in the show. But we'll start off with Giannis's extension. Just let me get my screen up so we can see the news from Shams. Where we at? Where we at? Hey, where's my? Hey, where is it? Let me see if I can get that up right now. And there we go. We start off here. Giannis Antetokounmpo had agreed to a 3-year, $186 million extension. When was this? This was a couple of days ago. It was 2 days ago. Yeah. So a few days ago, actually. More than, I think it's more than, I think Sunday. I think the news came out on Sunday. But yeah, like, this is interesting. Obviously, after the move that the front office did to bring in Damian Lillard to partner with him, obviously letting go of Drew Holiday, and some of the noise that Giannis was making during the offseason or leading up to the season, where he's saying, look, everybody needs to be on the same page with me in Milwaukee. If I want to sign, everybody has to be on the same page. We want to win another championship, and if we're all looking in different directions, then I may have to explore some options elsewhere. The front office do what they do, bring in Damian Lillard and say, look, we're backing this guy now, because Damian Lillard, I think, is the final year of his current contract is $71 million. So that's a lot of money they've invested in there, right? So they put their money where their mouth is now, and they've done it again here for Giannis. So what do you think about this, my bro? Like, this is it's a monumental move for him to say, look, the immediate future for sure, I'm here.
Yeah, man. For me, I look at Giannis. He's always been loyal to Milwaukee, but in the last few years, what we've seen is him understand his value as a player, and unlike past regimes where we've seen players kind of understand their value to the extent where they can say, "Hey, I will move." There's a level of trust between the organization and the player here, rather than it just being the organization hoping that the player can deliver a championship. No, the Bucks brought in Giannis. They developed him. They gave him the platform to grow as a player. They gave him the belief, and they believed in his skill set overall many moons ago. And that has delivered a championship since. For him, multiple MVPs, DPOYs, so forth. So with Giannis, he's always the player that I'll see staying in Milwaukee long term. But as he continues to allude to the fact that will only happen if they continue to give him championship caliber sides. Right now, we'll see what this team is capable of when they play their first game. Things are looking good. Damian Lillard, Giannis, Brook Lopez coming off a great season on the defensive end. We know what he can provide with them offensively as well. There are questions of the team after losing Drew Holiday, after losing the likes of Grayson Allen, for example. Can Chris Middleton step back up and refine some of that form? It's interesting because, and I know we're going to speak about Golden State, but there's a lot of questions regarding Klay Thompson after his injury and whether he'll be able to find himself. Same questions with Chris Middleton from me, to be honest, because we haven't really seen Chris Middleton back to that form that he was in that championship winning season. And that's an unfortunate thing if he's not going to be able to do that for the Milwaukee Bucks, because that's a lot of offense you're missing out on. So look, shout out to Giannis, well-deserved contract. I know Chino be hating from time to time, but this guy, he is the definition of dominance in our league today, and he's determined. He always wants to improve every other season, even after being a two-time MVP and accomplished everything that he has so far in his career. He still wants to improve, still wants to be better, and he still wants to win games. That's the most important thing. So shout out to Giannis, well deserved, man.
Yeah, man. Like I'm just kind of like, with all the noise that he did make over the summer, this was probably the only move for him. I didn't see him, agitating to go anywhere else. I feel like he's one of those kind of a 101. Those sportsmen that wherever they start, the place that gave them the opportunity to have this career, he will stay with them for the rest of his career. I don't see him. He seems like a very down to earth family guy, not looking and chasing for the lights and all of that. He feels that he feels his greatness is that much that he can bring stars from wherever they are to Milwaukee so that they can win championships together. And obviously it's a crucial time for him now, man. Like he's got a small window, not a small window, like it's but the window's closing in terms of him being at the peak of his powers, and for him having the best moment of his career or the best moments of his career at Milwaukee, the environment is good for him. And that's another thing that we tend to not talk about when it comes to just players, just in general, right? Like you can have all the skill and the ability, you can have all the mental toughness and everything like that comes with it, but your environment needs to be important too. And where he's been able to have an environment and also help develop an environment as well as part of that culture, like it means that he's well rewarded now with this contract. And I feel like with Lillard they're gonna make runs. They're gonna try and make as many runs as they can whilst they're both at the peak of their powers, basically. And yeah, as you say, bro, well deserved, didn't it, to get this contract? And yeah, to Yank as well, man. Big up to Yank as well, saying well deserved bag. Ain't no one like him in the league. And it's true, there isn't anyone that has the level of ability that he has, like because his skill set is very specific. You have to be that guy to be able to play like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's pretty interesting from that perspective. But yeah, I mean, I know we've already spoken about like what the ceiling is him for this season anyway, in terms of where he could be a potential regular season MVP, defensive player of the year, and a champion potentially, like, as well. So yeah, man, it's all good from there. But we gotta move on to this next topic now. Obviously, opening night. Opening night. Let me just change this image real quick. Opening night, the Lakers obviously losing the game to the Denver Nuggets. First quarter, they were getting cooked. I can't lie to you. They started off well, like Taurean Prince was he was shooting, did very well on his Lakers debut. I believe from the game I watched. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting one still. With Anthony Davis, obviously in the first half, I think he scored 17 points, and then and then he just was not non-existent in that in that second half of the Lakers. And there's obviously question marks surrounding, like, his status in the team, because he is supposed to be this number one option now. With LeBron James at 38 years old, all of the accolades, the ability of the man, the longevity of the man, he has to now say, hey, or he's already said, hey, this is the main guy. I'm here as backup. I know what I can do, even at my age. Like, but I don't want to be leading this team. And you can tell it, like, at times that he doesn't want to, but there's a lack of leadership within the Lakers, in my opinion. When I look at it, just over the last few years, they won that championship together. He did what he needed to do, LeBron, to try and persuade him to come there. They win that championship together, and then from that point, it should be, okay, I'm taking on the mantle because I'm now at that age, got that experience, and won the championship. Now I got to take it and run. Of course, injuries have hampered him, and I had this theory last year, just watching him play. Sometimes he holds back because he's afraid of injury, right? But then you look at him from just last season till now, you watched him in the game, he just looks a lot lighter on his feet. He's lost a bit of weight. They were saying that how he was working a lot more on his conditioning in the offseason. So for him to produce that in the second half with 0 points, I don't know. I saw Stephen A. He was making me laugh yesterday when he was talking about him. He just had a meltdown, and that's just some Stephen A. type stuff. But yeah, man, what do you think, bro? Like, what's not clicking for him in terms of the next level? Like, for him to now be the number one option on this team, what do you think it's all attributed to?
You know what? I'm trying my best to be balanced because I've seen the people that say it's the first of 82 games this season, possibly 83 if you get to the final game of the play-in tournament. But I digress. The first of 82 games, you're up against the defending champs. But then it was pointed out to me that Anthony Davis was doing a little bit of chirping. Game marked on the calendar. He wants revenge. We all know what Denver did to them in the playoffs last year. It wasn't sweet. It wasn't sweet at all. Congratulations on Denver for getting their rings, by the way. And another great 30-point triple-double by Nikola Jokic. But Anthony Davis now, and this is me saying that I'm losing faith in AD because, and the injuries, unfortunate. We can make an excuse for that to a certain extent. But in a season where it looks like Darvin Ham is giving LeBron James basically a minutes restriction. He played 29 minutes against Denver. LeBron spoke about it. Darvin Ham spoke about it, saying we need LeBron to be at his best come playoff time, basically. Because last season he was banged up. He wasn't at his best, LeBron James. The past few seasons, he's been picking up those niggling injuries that have hampered what he's been able to do, whether that's getting the Lakers to the playoffs or even getting the Lakers further forward in these playoff runs. So now it's time to manage LeBron James, who is in year 21, shouldn't have to, at this point, handle a massive load in this team. A lot of people speaking about the additions. Gabe Vincent, who also struggled in this game, 3 for 8 shooting off the bench. Cam Reddish, who for me, a promising young player, but has been inconsistent so far in his career. Christian Wood is another guy who's a little inconsistent. We all know he can score the ball at his best, but at the same time, defensively, a lot of questions to be asked. Rui Hachimura kind of struggled from the field as well. So we're expecting him to be better based off of his playoff performances. And then you got Austin Reeves, 4 for 11 shooting. It wasn't a great shooting that for the Lakers at all. Yeah, D'Angelo Russell's another guy who I think right now that front office, their patience might be running thing with D'Angelo Russell, because I saw him speaking saying, look, I'm trying to give the Lakers a reason not to take me off the court this season. And that's by taking charges, by being a better defender. We'll have to see how that goes as the season progresses. But at the same time, they're going to need his offense as the starting point guard. They're going to need his offense to step up on a consistent basis. So we'll have to see about that one. But once again, back onto AD. LeBron has emphasized multiple times that he is the franchise guy. I don't think his body and his mentality can handle being the franchise guy for the Los Angeles Lakers. And that's unfortunate because when I look at a guy that was back in New Orleans and he was winning his team to victory by any means necessary, getting those points, those rebounds, being the great defender that he is. And even we saw that in the first half when he was getting blocks and blocks and blocks. He was scoring points in that first half. But for whatever reason, with AD, there's always a switch off point. There's always a moment where you look at him and say, this guy could be one of the best players in the world when he wants to. And that's the big problem. Why is it when he wants to? He should want to be the best player in the world every single minute he's playing on the court. And once again, I will not use injuries as an excuse because I think that's unfortunate for him. It's very sad and unfortunate when any player gets injured. Same with AD. But I'm just simply speaking about his consistency, his will, his want to win when he is on the court, when he's available for those Lakers, when they need him the most. And I look at a game, fair enough, because there were some guys that were going all in on AD, and I don't think they were speaking enough about the supporting cast for the Lakers because they need to step up too. But at the same time, your best players and your leaders need to set an example. And I just don't think, especially in that second half, AD was that guy. He knows he needs to be better. Fair enough. But will he be better? That is the question we always seem to ask with Anthony Davis. And how much excuses, how much time are we going to give to him before we say, you know what, I'm out on him? Because in the workplace, you know this, bro. They say hard work beats talent. I'm not questioning his work ethic, but I'm also questioning his mentality towards wanting to implement the hard work that he's done in the off season. Because you can't work so hard in the off season, or at least speak about working so hard on your game, on your fitness in the off season, and not execute and let it be known once the work begins. Your talent is not enough for me to say Anthony Davis is a top player in the NBA anymore. You need to show me night in, night out.
I mean, look, the interesting thing about it is as well, like, don't forget, he just signed his contract extension as well. It's around the same money or the same money as Giannis did. So you're thinking to yourself, Lakers front office, Giannis is Giannis. Look what last year, he was basically defensive player of the year, but they didn't give it to him, right? Voting and all of that. But he had a defensive player of the year caliber type season. He deserved that money that he got. Right, Anthony Davis in the last, after the championship year, so the last 2 seasons has not been there, just not been that guy, right? But they understand that if we don't give him a contract extension, you're basically heading into rebuild mode because you don't know what's going to happen with LeBron, especially because if you don't tie down AD, how can you tie down LeBron? LeBron's also said, "Hey, I'm going where my sons are." Bronny probably have a year in university, college, and then he's in the league. I don't know where he's gonna go, but we'll find out what's gonna happen here because that's gonna be interesting.
Man is trying to say that he's waiting for Bryce as well because you see the advert.
I see that. I mean, I think he wants to do that, right? We'll be very interested to see what happens in that regard, like because it's looking like, I mean, who knows? It could be the Charlotte Hornets that may get that number 1 pick. We don't know. We don't know.
Hey, we shouldn't be wanting to wish the Hornets on any young brother.
But then LeBron goes there and transforms the whole thing. Yeah, we don't know. I'm just talking to it. But I'm just looking at AD and I'm saying to myself, they paid you this money now, so your future is secure, right? So there's no worries on that side. You've done all this work, and of course, I've seen that, bro. Like, he was chirping, talking about, where, we heard them, they're good opponents, but we're gonna be there again this season. So it's like, but you got to show it. That's the night, like this opening night, ring ceremony, everybody, the crowd's on cloud 10. The players, obviously, sometimes it goes both ways with players. That's a very emotionally draining ceremony. You get that ring, that thing you've been working for your whole career up until this point. You finally get that crowning moment especially after the elation of the championship. And then Some players, they may take it too much in there and they just don't focus on the game. And others, it may galvanize them and let them and motivate them to go further, right? But in that game, first off, he was doing exactly what he needs to do. And you're right, bro. He has a switch off point. There was a point, I don't know where, but as soon as he came back for that second half, it was non-existent. And I don't know what that is. If that's, I'm trying to save my body, but it's like, this is game one. Like you said, bro, it's game one. You don't actually have to save your body in game one. It's like, there's a long season. There will be points where you'll be rested. And even now, the rules are different. They can't even rest you like that anymore. So you're going to be playing a lot more games.
Even though shout out to Wow in the chat. But I saw in today's game, Devin Booker's out.
Yeah,
man, he torched up Golden State and now he's out with a foot injury. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on there.
I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? Like this is the game is the game, right? But like the thing about it is, man, like he needs to do more, in my opinion. Like, and I've been saying this for at least 2 seasons. I remember watching the game. I did a watch along. They played the Spurs, and I said to myself, it's like he needs LeBron to hold his hand, and it's like, yeah, but you're Anthony Davis though. You don't need anybody to hold your hand. You should be the main man on this team, especially now. And now where you've been, this is what I think is his 4th year at the Lakers now, 3rd or 4th. I think 4th. He's heading into his 4th. If I'm not mistaken.
What is it? Did he win the championship in his first year?
Yeah, he did. So
1920, 2021, 21-22, 22-23, now 23-24.
This is year 4 at the Lakers now. And now we're looking at you. You have to be the main man. You're the corner. You are the cornerstone of this franchise now. You have to push forward. Like it just doesn't make any sense. Like it doesn't make any sense for me. But hopefully he'll sort out these struggles. He has to take that mantle now. This is what it is, because LeBron. Look, I feel sorry for LeBron because I saw snippets of him talking to the coaching staff, talking about I can run the point and bring this guy in and bring this guy in so that we can because I can do it. Like, but the coaches are like, no, like they're gonna persist with D'Lo. But let's speak about the game a little bit in itself, right? Like, I was impressed with Taurean Prince on his first Lakers start. He was shooting the ball very well, involved in the action in terms of the defensive work, and he looks like he's going to relish the challenge of being a Laker. Gabe Vincent looked a little lost. I think that's more so you come out of that Miami Heat system and it's a little bit different basketball, so he has to adjust. He didn't really do too great, but I think he'll come good, because it's interesting because when you look at the contrast, Max Strus obviously went to the Cavs and look, he was torching last night. I think it was 7 threes or something like that. I think it was a franchise record for a debutant. But yeah, like, so I think he's gonna take some time. Cam Reddish, big opportunity for him here. Like, because if he doesn't do this at the Lakers, then they're gonna start putting him in bust categories type of thing. If he doesn't do what he needs to do for the Lakers. Rui Hachimura looked very rusty in my opinion when I watched him. He just couldn't get his game together. It's going to take some time for him to get into rhythm, it looks like, for the start of the season. But D'Lo is one I'm looking at very, very closely, because look, he went on Pat Bev's podcast, and was talking about they don't respect me. they're not gonna pay me the money that I'm worth. Look at my stats. And then in this game, because it's good. It's a good foresight from him to speak on his defensive work, right, and how he's been working on it in the offseason, because his offense really failed him in that Western Conference Finals specifically. And one thing about a good player is, if one thing isn't working, the other side has to work. And his defensive effort was not working, and this is why I'm surprised that the Lakers decided to retain him but let go of Dennis Schroeder. Because with Dennis Schroeder, if the offensive side is not working, he's always going to be a menace on defense. So there's a big spotlight on D'Angelo Russell, like you said, bro, because I'm not so sure about him, to be honest with you. Because he could be somebody a candidate to be traded when it comes around February time, when the trade deadline. Because if he's not performing at the level that they expect, something could happen. I don't know. Something could happen.
Bro.
Or he could lose. He could lose his spot because they got Gabe Vincent there, like who could just literally come in there. I mean, he's the traditional point guard. No, not necessarily. He's more of a two guard, but you know, he could just come in and step into that role and then try and help run offense, or he defers to whomever like LeBron or to Reeves. Let them run it traditionally in the one. And he goes to two guard, like you know what I mean. So yeah, but what was your thoughts on the game in its entirety? Like, before we move on to speaking about the from the Lakers perspective, before we speak about the Nuggets.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting game. I believe the Nuggets started to pull away ever so slightly. The Lakers fought back a little bit, and then in the end, it was Denver who had the quality overall, the better performers on the night to take the victory. And you know, I want to give credit to the Denver Nuggets again because a lot of the time it is tough for teams to kind of psych themselves up after the adrenaline of receiving that ring, having that moment, the banner goes up in the arena, the crowd has all of the energy, and sometimes if things don't go your way, the energy zapped out of the arena. But no, the Denver Nuggets, they were professional with it. Like I said, Jokic 30-point triple-double. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope continues to be a brilliant player for them as well. A guy that can score the ball, defend, just brilliant. Aaron Gordon, we always give this guy praise as well. Jamal Murray, he could be an all-star this year. Hopefully, you know, health and all of that good stuff. He may well be an all-star this year. Michael Porter Jr., I'm looking at him and saying, can you make a jump as an all-round player this season? Because that's going to make Denver even more dangerous. They lost Bruce Brown, so now they need a guy to step up. We know we spoke about the emergence of Christian Brown in the playoffs last year, but Michael Porter Jr., if you can be ever so slightly a better defender, if you can be a more consistent guy on offense, we know how dangerous he is, but sometimes you take those shots, you don't make those shots. If you can be a little more consistent with your playmaking as well, it's about making those small incremental jumps every season, and that's what I'll be looking at. I mean, Reggie Jackson, he had that little highlight where LeBron went down. I like Reggie. Yeah, it's true. It's true. You know, it's funny, man, because man is saying, who was it? I think it was Evan Turner. Who people were saying that he had that highlight on LeBron where he broke his ankles a couple of seasons back, and the clip, like bare people didn't even know it happened. The clip just got wiped off the internet. Reggie Hot Sauce Jackson, enjoy your 5 minutes because this clip is gone.
I ain't gonna lie, when I saw that, I was like, ooh, I was like, oh, he crossed him. I was like, he crossed him. And then like 5 minutes later, they showed the replay. I was like, yeah, like it's a trip. But yeah, man, it was interesting, man. But yeah, let's move on to the next topic. We'll speak about Denver in more detail and Jokic. No, my screen, let me just switch the screen.
Shout out to Wow Factor in the cut, man. Hope you're doing well. Hope your day's been blessed. Appreciate you coming by each and every time.
Come on. Let's get into some more of these comments with Wow Factor as well. Say AD versus Joker. We're showing a lot. We got shown what AD is. He's only dominant against small people. But versus Embiid, Joker, and Giannis, don't see it happening. We all know what AD is. Let's see AD versus the 76ers. It's interesting. That's an interesting take there. You know, he doesn't really like to have that battle with the other bigs in the team, even though I don't think he wants to be a big. I think he wants to be the 4. He wants to play at the power forward position because, you know, like the thing about it, you know what's interesting as well, yeah, from that AD perspective before we move on, yeah. They said that Darwin Ham has told him that they want him to shoot more threes in the game. So he's going to be operating on the perimeter a lot more. And whilst I like it, because obviously he's going to play the 5 until a situation arises where, you know, you're playing Killian Hayes in the 5 and then he's at the 4. And obviously, like, but you want somebody at the starting position there. And it's just like, in the starting 5, he's the center. He's not going to play the 4. Do you know what I'm saying? If they was able to obtain Naz Reid and pay him some money, and let's say not bring in a couple of guys, maybe that's the starting five, because Nasri's had a great rise in the last 3 years of his career. Yeah, to the point where I think they're going to move forward with him at some point, and in the Timberwolves, but because they're getting too expensive now. But if they brought in somebody like that, then it will probably give AD license to play the four and be able to operate on the perimeter with a little bit more license, kind of like what you're seeing with Porzingis at the Celtics, or how Wemby's going to be, deployed with the Spurs, where you've got big guys that can shoot, right, and they can operate on the perimeter, and he has that time and space to be able to do it. So it's interesting though, wow, man, that you're making, like, I don't think he wants to play the five, but he will do it because that's where he's been placed.
You know what? And thanks for bringing that up, because one part of me will say, you know what, he plays his best as a 4 position, maximize AD in his best position. But at the same time, do you really want to be hearing, and we don't see everything, but we just keep on hearing it. Do you really want to be hearing from a player that he doesn't want to play in this position? When I've seen LeBron James, he's played center. He's played point guard for this team. He's played small forward. He's sacrificed his body to play in multiple positions to try and maximize this Laker team. Previous Laker teams with Russell Westbrook when he was there as well. LeBron James was playing center to sacrifice, to try and maximize the level of that current Lakers side, and he continues to do that. So if you're seeing your co-star, you should want to also sacrifice to those high levels. So fair enough. AD's best position may be at the power forward position. You may get the best out of him there. But who's to say that? Because he's inconsistent either way. You play him at center, you play him at power forward, he'll give you one good game and one horrible game. One good half, one horrible half. So the benefit of the doubt is gone.
Yeah.
AD, you prove yourself again.
Yeah, you've got to start all over again, literally, like, because it's just not good enough. Well, I've had to say that Hawks are bringing in Bronny, but Rob Pelinka will trade half of the Lakers to keep Bron playing and bring Bronny, so I can see that happen. Also, look, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, there was talks, because I don't think he's gonna go number 1, but I think he'll be definitely early first round, probably top 10. Bronny potentially in the draft. It should be interesting for the 2024 draft. I mean, I guess he's gonna play the one season. Hopefully, I think he's over his little scare that he had early on in the summer, so he'll play his first season as a freshman. But we'll see what will happen if he will decide maybe that's not enough. I want to have another year or whatnot. But we'll see. I don't think they'll allow him though. I think they're already gonna push him direct, because obviously he's on his father's timeline right now. Like, his father saying, "Hey, I ain't got long left. I'm 30. I'll be 39 this year, this upcoming season. I'll be 39. I ain't got time left here, so you gotta come along." So it's gonna be interesting. Well, I've had to say to you, yeah, I'm gutted, guys, but Booker always wanted to play, especially against the Golden State Warriors. That's our biggest rivals, and he has problems with the Clippers and PG and Luka as well. Bill was the help from, yeah, but Bill's going to be out for the game as well, back problem for the game tonight against the Lakers. So that's going to be interesting to see, like, when is he going to come into this starting lineup, because they look good, but it was more so some of the role players though. Wow factor. This is what we want to discuss a little bit later, because Josh Okogie was really good. So was Yuta Watanabe as well. Like, there, some of those guys that you brought in are definitely going to fit directly into this Frank Vogel system on the defensive end, because they got that capability. So we're going to talk about that in a bit. Wow factor, big up yourself, man, as always. And then I need KD to step up against Bron tonight, along with Utah, Allen, Nurk, yeah, Banks as well. They took a second round pick from the Suns. I seen that yesterday for tampering. Bringing in who did they bring in? It was Eubanks. Yeah, Eubanks. They were tampering ahead of that kind of move to bring him in. But yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting. They took a really second round.
They might have to take another one. They might have to take another one if they bring in Cat Jones.
Yes, yeah, trust. But yeah, they might have to, yeah, after that KD thing, yeah. But yeah, for sure. I don't think they care. I think what they've done right now, they've loaded their team. They're like, yeah, we're good. We're not even caring about doing anything from a draft perspective. So You know what I'm saying? For at least at least 3-4 years, maybe, depending on how things go. Man, big up to man like Guarin as well. Big up yourself, man. It's been, hey, I'm good. You know, the Celtics won last night. It was a scare. It was a scare, my guy. We got through. You got through. Big up yourself, man. And poor Grant getting booed on opening night. Hey, I can't lie. It's long, but hey, let's move on to this next topic. Jokic with the triple double in the game against the Lakers, man. The best player in the NBA. For me, anyway, currently, right now, he's the best player in the NBA, probably best player in the world right now. Talk to me, man. This is 106 career triple doubles all time for Jokic. He's creeping ever so much up that list. He'll probably go past LeBron for sure this season. I have a feeling as well, and get himself into that position. And how important is it for Jokic to solidify himself once again as the best player in the NBA? Obviously, losing his MVP title to Embiid. Do you reckon he's going to be on that kind of level once again? I mean, he was on it last season. It was just I see someone say Kendrick Perkins came on TV, started screaming Black Lives Matter, and that's how Embiid got the MVP. Oh,
he
man.
said, why are we giving this to Nikola Jokic?
But yeah, man, what do you think, bro? Like, I mean, is this another one of those? Is he going to be dominating the league once again this year for the Denver Nuggets and propelling them into another finals? What do you think, bro?
100%. The team is there. They haven't lost a lot of pieces off of their championship year. They are primed to have another great season, and with Nikola Jokic at the helm. Now, in terms of individual accolades, he probably doesn't care. He probably goes into every single game and just says, I want to go out there and play. I want to go out there and have some fun. And that's what it looks like on the court. It's a beautiful thing to watch Nikola Jokic play. And it's quite funny because before he picked up that championship last season, I remember towards the end of the campaign, when the MVP votes kind of swayed towards Joel Embiid, he had that big 50-point game at one point, and then everything swayed towards him. At that moment, Jokic, the Denver Nuggets were having a little dip towards the end of the campaign, and everybody was kind of questioning his credentials, questioning the team's ability, and they go on to win the championship, and all of those doubters are silenced. But it is a beautiful thing to see something like that, because now Jokic plays, if he wasn't playing with pressure before, he's definitely not playing with pressure now, you know? Or if he was playing with pressure before, he's definitely not playing with pressure now, because you're a champion, you're an MVP, you're playing, you were the number one seed last year and you backed it up. And you have the ability now, because everybody's going to be chasing you. But I think this Denver side will relish that. When you look at how these guys speak, their mentality towards the game of basketball, they're determined to win. Aaron Gordon, even Michael Porter Jr. I've seen some interviews with him and his perspective and how mature he is as a player, and how those championship experiences can almost expand not just your skill set, but your overall mentality towards the game of basketball, and how easy it gets when you understand how to win, when you know how to get there. So Nikola Jokic, for me, he's going to be an MVP candidate this season. He's going to be a great player. We know that. Might go on to win his third MVP. Who knows?
Yeah.
Obviously, we spoke about the topic of voters fatigue last year, and that, well, that may have been the reason why the MVP slipped away towards the end. Who knows if he'll ever come close to that again due to the same reason. And it's a shame we have to speak about stuff like that, because when a player is great, they should be recognized as being great. They should be recognized as being one of the greatest, and they should receive their flowers. And I just hope that Nikola Jokic continues to get his flowers this season, because I believe Denver will be a great team once again.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, the thing about Jokic, yeah, I like the way he's been able to adapt to the style that Mike Malone has been basically implementing from the moment he came in. Like, he's had to really work and build this team to be a very high energetic team. And obviously, having Jokic as the cornerstone to that, you're seeing Jokic sprinting. Like, and this is what I'm saying. He wasn't doing that early on in his career, and obviously it took time because obviously the team had to be molded in a way that would allow for them to be very vicious on the fast break. And like you saw it at so many points last season, how vicious they were on the fast break. They just in transition, they would kill you. And they would just kill you time and time again. That they would just open up these mad leads. And it just shows you the levels that Jokic is willing to work. They said that he usually, when he goes in the offseason, he takes a lot of time off, but and then he gets himself back into the gym, and then he gets himself back into just some basketball rhythm. But they said that he actually cut that short this time, right? Cut that a little bit shorter this time. So he started a lot earlier, so he could be in real good shape because he understands the gravity of the situation where if you're a champion, everyone's gunning for you, like you said, bro. And you need to be at an even higher level than you were the previous season just to be able to starve off all of that competition. Like, so, I mean, he was doing Jokic things in the game. There's nothing real different about his game. I don't know if anyone can really, I think the only thing that's different about his game is that he's coming into it a lot more, in great shape, better shape. He's more well conditioned, right? But his overall game is the same. Like, and he's hard to stop. He's just hard to stop, man. Like, AD struggled. He struggled in that second half. He could not keep up with him, and it just meant that they go on to win. And then obviously when you've got all those pieces around you in that Denver Nuggets team, the ability to shoot the free ball from Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, even KCP at times, and then KCP he's a very rugged defender as well, man. Like you can't really get past him. And then AG, man, like not many people can really hold their own against him in the paint. Like he's very clever and crafty, he's strong as well, athletic. So yeah, and then obviously that bench unit as well. I mean, Naji's big year for him. He's gonna have to make a big jump. So is Chris Brown. He's gonna have to make another big jump himself after what we saw from him last year. And I think he's got the mentality to do it. Like they're gonna be tough, man, to stop. But Jokic, yeah, it's just too much for a lot of people, and I wonder what's going to happen with him. Hopefully, everything is all good and well in terms of health for every team in this league this season, every top player this year, because we don't want to see none of the stars of all these teams to be just kind of sitting out games. It's not a good look. So hopefully everybody's healthy and we get to really see some real basketball, high level basketball, because that was high level basketball we saw or a couple of days ago. So
100%.
And I think it's been a great start from Jokic so far. So let's see if that continues. Big up to a man like Drizzy in the building. Hope you're good, my bro. Hope everything's doing well. I know you're here, man, just to be consoled consoled because of the Lakers loss, man. But it's the Denver Nuggets.
I kind of want to hear Drizzy's opinion on AD, man.
You already know, man. They're gonna call him trash, man. You just know. They're gonna call him trash. Let's move on to this next topic, man. Booker, man, in that fourth quarter, he was clutch with those assists. I think he got 3 in a row that led to them extending that lead, man. Let me just share the screen, man, with the Booker picture up here, man. Devin Booker, man, like that was a great game as well, leading the scoring as well for the Suns. I mean, yeah, he's come into this season with a chip on his shoulder for me. I think after the performance that he had in the playoffs, he was averaging like in his 11 games, I think in the playoffs, he was averaging like 35 or 36 points per game. Like he was really carrying them on the offense, the Suns, but they just ran out of gas because there wasn't enough in terms of depth in that team, and that was their problem. And then obviously even in that starting lineup, man, DeAndre Ayton just did not want to be there, and he showed it in several points, especially in that series against the Nuggets. So he's come in here in a vengeance on the road against a Golden State team that, I mean, we'll speak about their troubles. For me, I feel like they're a little bit short. I mean, Draymond didn't play, so it was a bit different. It was a pretty small lineup anyway, with Chris Paul in there as well. I think he had a pretty good second half, specifically Chris Paul, but it wasn't enough. What do you think of what Booker's impact for the Suns this season? Because obviously there's been a lot of talk about what does Kevin Durant need to do now being on this team. You know, he's gonna have to be more of a leader and at least and give the keys and the reins to Booker and help elevate him to another status now because KD's 35 now, so he's not a young man anymore. He should be now that real leader in that locker room and let the young star do what he needs to do because he's already shown what he can do anyway. So what do you think about Devin Booker and his impact for the
Yeah.
Suns this year?
Well, over the years, we've seen Devin Booker not just be a terrific scorer of the basketball, but we've seen him improve in every single facet of his game. And
Mm,
that includes the playmaking. I mean, one of the dishes that stick out to me, and shout out to Josh Okogie, that jump pass, jumps up in
mm,
the air, throws it two-handed in the corner. Josh Okogie knocks down the triple. And that's one of those dagger shots in the fourth quarter. Shout out to Joshua Okogie. That was a good performance on both sides of the floor too. But in terms of Devin Booker now, there's no CP. Cameron Payne's not in the team either. So he's going to have a lot of responsibility when it comes to handling the ball, being the guy that brings his teammates into play. They've got Grayson Allen now, who, even though he didn't have a good shooting night, they're going to expect him to knock down shots, play defense. You got Josh Okogie, who was knocking down his triples when it was most important. Shout out to him. Knocked down that crucial shot. Kevin Durant, of course. Devin Booker can create for his co-star. And I've got a little thing to say on KD, but I'm going to leave it for now. Eric Gordon, now he's a shot chucker and he missed
mm,
a lot of shots in opening night, but they're gonna expect him to be making shots, and that's depends on the ability of Devin Booker to create those open looks. And as long as you have KD and D Book on your team, you should be getting good looks from downtown for layups, even
mm,
mid-range shots. So I think Devin Booker, this is a season for him to showcase his skill set on a grander stage. I mean, he's come a long way from earlier on in his career where guys were saying he's not a winning player. He
mm.
just scores a high amount of points. I know there's a guy that they've already labeled and he's in Washington with that
Yeah.
moniker, but he's come a long way as a player, as a winning player, a guy that can contribute to winning games and performing at the highest level in the playoffs. And it's once again, it's great to see when great players grow. And I will give CP some of that credit as well because we've seen him in the
Mm,
last few years in the twilight of his career go over to teams that are potentially not great. The Phoenix Suns were not a great side before Chris Paul joined.
yeah.
Obviously, they had that run in the bubble where they won every game and they just missed out on the playoffs. He goes there, they become a 60-win team, and obviously weren't able to win that championship, but they were a much better team with CP and his knowledge and his teachings passed over to players like Debo, like Campaign. We saw how much he benefited from Chris
Mm,
Paul's leadership. We saw that back in OKC as well. So, like I said, D-Book is he is the man on Phoenix, no doubt about it. Kevin Durant is a strong second, but Devin Booker is the man in Phoenix. And most of the stuff will go through him. The best Phoenix Suns teams I've seen are ones that move the ball quickly,
mm,
have a quick offense, get out there and transition as well. And obviously their team has changed significantly since they've had the likes of Mikal Bridges, Cam
mm,
Johnson, and Campaign. So we're gonna have to see how their offense looks. They've still got great players. I think Yusuf Nurkic had a double-double in his first game, and he showcased
mm,
what he can provide in comparison to what DeAndre Ayton was giving them on a weekly or a game-to-game basis even. Josh Okogie as well as an energetic defender, a guy that can also make those backdoor cuts, knock down those three-pointers in the corner. So they brought in a lot of valuable role players who are accepting of their role and
mm,
want to win, most importantly. And that gives you the tools to have a good season, a good team, a good campaign, and potentially a good playoff period if you're able to go that far. So I'm a lot more positive on Phoenix than I was maybe a few months ago. And
mm.
I just think, hey man, D Book, this team goes as far as he's willing to take them.
Yeah. I mean, look, you know, you made a good point, yeah, about Chris Paul and what value he's kind of added to players, younger players, or players that are willing to take on that knowledge. Because obviously, sometimes you could put a player like CP in a locker room, but some of those young players will not listen to. This is why I think it's interesting what's happening at the Houston Rockets, because it looks as if, because I watched some small highlights of Jalen Green last night, and he looks like a rookie, bro. He looks like a rookie. Like it's like they've smacked it, but it's good because it's like you gotta start again. Because whatever you were doing, it wasn't working. And now the vets are in the locker room. So now things are gonna have to change over there. But for Book, it's you're right again, bro. Responsibility. Now everything's gonna be in his shoulder because I don't see, you know, of course, every single one of those guys, when Bill comes back in and KD, they're good. They're great with the ball. Um, as well. They can find their teammates, right? But the responsibility mainly to play the point is gonna be on Book, and obviously he can do it. But now he actually has to do it. I think he's gonna have to do that more, and he's gonna have to score as well, and he's gonna have to help a lot more on defense. He's gonna actually have to be the guy that sets the tone. Do you know what I'm saying? From the
Yeah,
backcourt, he has to set that tone there, right? So, um, it's going to be interesting to see how he fares because he's going to have a lot on his shoulders, but it's probably going to be the first time that the team have allowed him to do this now, right? KD, one of the most efficient scorers in NBA history, right? He's older now, so it's like he's gonna have to defer to him and say, "Look, it's you. This is all on you." And it's
mhm,
like he definitely took that mantle last year in the playoffs. We saw it, but now having a fresh summer, fresh camp, new coach, a different style of play as well because there's going to be a large emphasis on defense because of Frank Vogel and the way he wants, and obviously the move they made to bring in Nurkic, who's more of a defensive anchor in that center position as well for the team. Um, it's going to be interesting to see how Booker actually takes on that responsibility full time now, where he's had his 2 or 3 years of education under the tutelage of CP3, and now it's you. Like they're not going to do this again. They're not going to bring in somebody now to help you. You are the guy. Like you, so whatever you've been able to soak up from him, you now have to show that on the court, and he did that in game one.
yeah,
We're going to see him in game two, unfortunately, but he did that in game one. He showed on all aspects. I saw him making real good defensive plays, assisting his teammates. Where in his younger years, he would have taken those shots. He would have tried to force an opening for himself and try and be the game winner. Do you know what I'm saying? But just making small little passes or a little jab step, then look, turn, pivot, and then just lay it off to a teammate who's in a way better position than he's in to get those buckets. Like it just shows the maturity already. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? He's actually relishing taking on this kind of role in the team, and I like it, man. I like the fact that KD's taking a back step and saying, "Yeah, it's yours."
Mhm.
I wonder how it's
Yeah.
gonna look with Bradley Bill in there too. But bro, yeah, you continue,
I
bro.
Hey, shout out to Wild, shout out to you, bro. I am putting an onus on Kevin Durant. Now, he didn't play, he was injured for the most part. So I'm giving him time because I still feel like he needs those moments to adjust to the team properly, and especially when Bradley Bill comes in, there's gonna have to be a balance in the scoring. You know, D Book's number one, but when it comes to KD and Bradley Bill, who's gonna, who's hot on a nightly basis? I guess one of the other will take the back seat depending on who's having a better game. But it's all about balance in teams, and I'm gonna speak about that regarding your very own Boston Celtics as well later on. But but I think he needs to find that balance because we have seen some of these games where he shot inefficiently, and we're not used to seeing Kevin Durant shoot those kind of percentages on a consistent basis. When I look at his game, 31% from the field, 7 of 22 shooting. You don't expect that from Kevin Durant. So I'm hoping that he can show up. Wild Factor's expecting him to show up against the Lakers with no D Book, with no Bradley Bill. This is your team tonight, KD. One night only. Let's see what's good.
Yeah, man, he does. He needs a shot. Yeah, because they're both out. They're both out. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think I think he will. I think he will. He's when you're an elite level player, um, when you're an elite level player, you find your way. You find your way.
Yeah.
Like however it is, you find your way. Like and he's been in that situation before. So I don't think it's going to be too much. The issue for me with KD is injuries. Can he stay injury free? Because if he stays injury free, which this makeup should allow him, the depth now in the team should allow him to be on the court a little bit less in situations where he's not having to. Because I mean, some of the accumulation of minutes that he's built up over the last few years has probably contributed to the fact that he's been breaking down a lot more earlier in seasons. Because when I look at what was happening in Brooklyn prior to his move, early on last season, he was literally 40 minutes every game, literally until his body broke down and he was injured, and then he came back and then he moved. And this is where I'm hoping. I think a lot of coaches have started to build their rosters because they understand they got to protect some of these stars, and then also they're providing more responsibility to younger players who have had a few years to get themselves acclimatized to what this is really about. The NBA is really about. Like, you're gonna see what's gonna happen at the Clippers. You expect him a huge jump from the likes of Terrence Mann and Bones Highland too. They're both gonna have to step in. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I like what I'm seeing from Bones.
Oh yeah, Bones.
Like
Yeah, Bones. The stuff that I was seeing in the offseason when he was doing the pickup games and all that stuff, I was like, yeah, he's ready. He's ready. Because obviously the setback from, seeing a team that you was on, you get traded, they win a championship. You could have been part of that. You're not at the Clippers where you equally could have a championship, but there's a lot of doubt surrounding that. He looks ready. So we'll see. And then you got somebody like Russ there who's just always going to be a great teammate for you. Like, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, man. It's going to be interesting to see. But let's speak a little bit quickly about the role players for the Phoenix Suns and how important they will be this season. Obviously, I mean, Josh Okogie is going to be starting for the Suns this year, but the likes of Eric Gordon, Yuta Watanabe, Drew Eubanks, as well. Like, how important was building Bobo? How important was building that depth for them in the off season prior to this season? Because obviously we've spoken about they've got no depth. Obviously, after the KD trade, they had to move pieces out, and it was expensive. It was an expensive acquisition by Matt Ishbia, but he needed to do it because he wanted to win, right? How important has it been for them to bring in this depth, and like, did they showcase what they could do for the team in that game against the Warriors?
I think it's very important, and I love the fact that they've brought in a specific profile of role players. It's not like they've gone around the market and they've said, we can pick up this guy, we can pick up this guy, that guy. No, they've looked at guys that, number one, they can shoot the ball and they can also play defense. And there will be guys that get DMPs across the course of this season. They may receive some opportunities based on the fitness levels of the team. Maybe some guys are sitting up, while speaking about Jordan Goodwin potentially getting an opportunity to run the point tonight. These are, especially in the early stages of the campaign. And I know Adam Silver wants every single game to matter in the early stages, hence why he implemented the play-in. But even now, these early stages will be tests for guys like Jordan Goodwin. Bo may get an opportunity at a certain point of the season where it's like, okay, you're coming from Orlando, you've had opportunities, you've showcased that you have the talent, but now it's your time to lock in as a player and say, I'm really serious about this. I'm serious about my personal development, and I'm serious about winning with a great team. Chimezi Metu is a guy who definitely can get some playing time at certain points of the season. He got a DMP. Keita Bates-Diop. There are a lot of guys that can provide some valuable play on both sides of the floor in this team, and that's what I've loved about their acquisitions in the off season. They have their stars, and it is expensive when you go in like this. Bradley Beal, we know about his contract and how the no trade clause gave him what he needed to do. Kevin Durant, another guy, he needs to deliver. Especially those three guys, D-Book, KD, and Bradley Beal, you'll be looking at them first. But every great team, every championship team has depth players that provide depth, and not just any type of depth on both sides of the floor. they're willing to sacrifice their bodies to play defense, to knock down those crucial shots like we saw from Joshua Kogi against the Warriors. So it's very important, bro. Big up Chino.
I like Chino in the building. What are you saying?
What you mind saying, man?
Oh,
Man, just busy day, bro.
Busy day.
yeah.
Yeah, I hear it.
Hope
I
all
hear it.
is well, bro. Hope all is
I
well.
was at I gotta go back to the hobby shop. That's where you work on the car by yourself. Had to do my oil change, had to rotate my tires, had to change my fluid tank because I don't know, something was popped. And then my wife had a appointment, OB appointment, and I had to leave that to go take her there, and it's like an hour away. The appointment was like an hour. Again, got to drive back an hour back. Just got back, and now I got to go finish the car before they close at 4:30. It's like 3 o'clock, and I'm supposed to go to physical therapy at 3:30, but I'm
Bro,
about to cancel
bro,
that.
why are you here, fam? Like, you need to sort
Fam,
that
go
out,
get
bro.
your business
Sort it
handled,
out,
fam.
fam. Come on,
Yeah.
man. You gotta sort that
Yeah.
out, bro. Hey, no, hey. We might have to leave this because you're gonna need time to think about all of this, innit? Because you never gave your predictions last week, innit? So
Yeah, nah, yeah.
all right.
Are you doing a watch along, bro? Tomorrow is
Yeah.
It's Saturday for you.
I know. I should do it, innit? It's the Heat game, innit? You want to
Heat
do that, innit?
versus
Heat versus
Celtics.
Celtics. Yeah. You know what? We might have to do it tomorrow still. We might have to do it, but I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna be at my parents, innit? So I
Oh,
don't know.
Say no more.
I might just take my laptop with me and stream from there, though. I might do it.
yeah.
I might do it. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll let you know. But yo, bro, just sort out your things in it. Don't worry about it. Just sort out your
Yeah,
stuff.
man. Big up, man. Them.
Big up Chino,
Big up
man.
Chino, man.
Take care.
But yeah, man. Hey, yeah. Glory wants this, man. This game tomorrow. I might have to do it. It's gonna be a late one, but I think I'll do it. It shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, it's important that those role players have their say, because obviously, like you said, bro, as part of a championship winning team, there's always gonna be guys who, like, I'm looking towards Grayson Allen, for example. He's gonna come in. He's somebody that he's won a championship before, and so he knows the kind of process, and he was a role player on that team too. Do you know what I'm saying? He wasn't a starter, so he knows what he needs to do to be able to be an impact player on the team. Like, so I'm sure he's gonna be one of those kind of guys, that's gonna be, and this is important too. Josh is fighting for his minutes. This is what Wife had to say. He's fighting for a minute, and he showed in that game against the Warriors that, hey, I'm ready for that fight. Whoever you are, like, I don't care who you are. I'm ready to fight you for those minutes. And that's what he did. And that's the right mentality. Like you say, bro, it's the right mentality to have. So they were gonna have a crucial role. Obviously, health of their stars is going to be important for them to actually do something. They need KD to be fit and healthy for most of the season, and that's gonna obviously it's going to be down to Frank Vogel to do his rotations the right way to make sure that he doesn't accumulate too many minutes per game. Because that was his problem at Brooklyn. They just couldn't trust anybody off the bench to really replace him and have a level of quality. So whereas now I look at the Suns team, there's a lot of quality off the bench. So there's going to be some rotations for all of them, and it should be interesting to see what happens there. But let's move on to the Warriors, because there's it's pretty interesting from that perspective about what happened in the game, because seen some shooting struggles from their stars. Let me just share my screen real quick. Shooting struggles from their stars, specifically Clay, Steph too. Obviously, Draymond was out in the game. And I assume he's gonna return. But the one thing I wanted to ask, bro, obviously the acquisition of Chris Paul provides some of their younger players in that second unit, some more experience, some another person to learn from. And obviously, speaking about the impact of what he did at OKC to help your young stars, grow into where they are now. And then obviously him doing the same thing with the Phoenix Suns, with D Book, and then obviously even the likes of Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, because even though they're not there anymore, they're gonna now have bigger roles somewhere else, and hopefully that education, the things they soaked up from him, will help them in good stead in the nets and stuff like that, right? But he's not the biggest guy, and they lack size already in the team. How much of an impact is that going to be for them? Is it going to hurt them a lot more this season? Because they're not really the biggest team in itself. I mean, they brought in Dario Saric as well, who's going to help that to a certain extent, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. So what do you think, bro?
It's interesting, right? Because Golden State, like you say, they lack size. They have Kevon Looney, who they can rely upon to be a consistent guy who rebounds the ball, to a certain extent, protects the paint. And they're trying to now groom Jonathan Kuminga as that guy who's going to come through off the bench, play that role, and potentially be a kind of small ball guy that can go up there. He's athletic. He should be able to be a decent defender once he gets his skill set up and is able to get to the level. But right now, he's not all there yet. And a lot of people are saying Chris Paul may bring the best out of him. I can't wait to potentially see that. But in a game like this, I think it was unfortunate. Steph wasn't able to get going. You know, he knocked her down a couple shots here and there, but for the most part, 8 of 20 from the field. We won't see that a lot from Steph Curry unless it's a struggle season. Klay Thompson is a guy that I'm questioning because we all know how great Klay can be and how great he has been throughout his NBA career, but he just hasn't been there. And at times, I've questioned whether mentally he's just in his head too much and he just needs to let the game come to him. I'm not too sure. Maybe physically, he's just not the player he once was. And I don't want to be that guy to say that's the answer and after the first game of the season. So we'll just have to see how it goes. As for Chris Paul, he was kind of established. Like, he wasn't really wanting to come off the bench. So everybody knew he was going to be a starter in this team, and they were questioning, well, Steph, Klay, Chris Paul, what kind of dynamic is that going to be? Now, I've heard people throughout the media kind of speaking about the situation of the Warriors at their best being a team that plays fast-paced basketball. Of course, it is high turnover at time, and that's what shot them in the foot in the last couple of years or in the last year or so. But fast-paced basketball, motion offense, and they're kind of going to have to change that up at times with CP3, especially when he's handling the ball and orchestrating the offense. So I feel like there's going to be a little bit of adjustment when it comes to them getting used to him and him getting used to them as well. Because I don't think we're going to see a lot of movement when it comes to CP3 in that motion setting. Of course, Draymond Green, when he comes back, his quality is going to be crucial and what he provides, his partnership with Steph and Klay, and what kind of partnership he's going to be able to strike up with CP3 as well. So I think for now we can wait. Gary Payton II, hopefully he can get back to his best this season because he had some issues coming back to Golden State from Portland regarding the injections and all of that stuff. So hopefully he can return to that high energy guy on defense who can also knock down a couple shots from there. Dario Saric didn't have a good shooting game either. They're going to depend on him to knock down shots from beyond the arc and provide that size, as you said, bro. But I don't think it's time to worry just yet. You can be concerned if you're a Golden State fan, even if you're not a Golden State fan. But I think let's see how they look a few games down the line once they have all of their guys back and they're at full strength. But there are going to be some adjustments.
Because I mean, like what I've had to say in here, yeah, that like they always prefer 3-point shooting over size, but the problem is if the shots don't land, you get dominated and step into foul trouble. And this is what happened to Steph in the game. He hit 4 fouls, probably third quarter-ish, like mid-third quarter-ish, and it was like, all right, you have to sit down because we need you in the game towards the end, right? And that kind of happened as well a lot, especially in the playoffs when we was watching the Warriors. That was what was happening at times. Like, you know, they got some real great like players and their mentality is up there because of the championship experience. But sometimes things will happen in the games and you really find yourself in a lot of trouble. And they found some struggles across the whole of last season on the road. There was a lot of difficulty. We saw that. Getting to the playoffs now, they really struggled in that series against the Kings. They arguably should have You shouldn't. It was it was a 50-point game from Steph Curry that saved them. In that final game, and then obviously Kevon Looney just rebounding the ball like crazy. I think he got 16, maybe close to 20, 22, 23 rebounds in that game.
And even then, bro, when you look at some of the late game decision making from Sacramento, it could have been a complete different scenario. The one that strikes out to me is when Harrison Barnes misses that shot at the end of the game.
He should never have done that, but then obviously last night he was cooking last night. Though, I
Yeah.
can't lie, but then like even things like from what Steph was doing, not in Game 7, but probably if I'm not mistaken, it's Game 4 where he didn't realize that they had no timeouts.
Yeah,
holds onto the ball when time's up because he was getting pressure, and I was like, yeah, like it's pretty interesting. But then you know what, you made an interesting point about the turnovers in this game. They didn't actually turn the ball over that much. The Suns turn over the ball a lot. They turn over the ball like maybe 14, 15 times in the game. The Suns, but they didn't really turn over the ball. And I think that's the influence of Chris Paul. When you're allowing him to make the decisions, he doesn't waste the ball. He always makes the right choice, man. He's CP3. He's it's like a computer in his brain. Like he knows and he calculates every single move that he does on the court. So they didn't turn the ball over a lot, and that's going to help them. I think a bit more better decision making will mean that if the guys space the floor well, they'll get enough space to get those shots off those 3 pointers. Or it's just that, like Wild Factor says, the shots need to land. Clay, not a great shooting night. And this is the thing, it's like, since he's come back from the injury, he's lost the level of explosiveness. So that means he's unable to go the other way and defend at the ability that he showed before the injury. And at the same time, his shooting has struggled. Like, since we've seen him back, he's not at that same level. I mean, yeah, he was clutch in game 4 against the Celtics in their championship run a couple seasons ago. But he hasn't really replicated that since that moment. You know what I'm saying? And like last season, he struggled a lot, and then we saw that in that series against the Lakers in the playoffs as well. He struggled there too. Steph is always going to be Steph. I mean, I wouldn't look at that one game as an indication that he's lost a step or anything like that. He's still going to be that. He has that ability, but the size is going to hurt them this season. I'm expecting to see Kuminga help that a little bit. Can he? I don't know if he's going to be able to force his way into this starting lineup because there's it's pretty much solidified, and with CP3 in there now, it's just another guy who's just going to block your path essentially. But off the bench, Kuminga, Moses Moody, both of those guys are going to have big moments. And I hope that they can provide a little bit something there. But one thing about Clay I want to mention is the fact that maybe he hasn't signed that extension yet. They haven't been able to agree on anything yet. I don't know if it's in the works. I don't know if it's close, but maybe that's on his mind. I mean, Draymond being able to kind of get that done under the table, and he took a little bit less money, I think, where he could have taken more elsewhere if he decided to go into free agency, and he renewed. Maybe Clay wants a certain number, and the Warriors aren't willing to provide him that based on what they've seen, in the since his injury return. So maybe that's on his mind, and it could be playing a part in the way his game is being played. Because obviously we know this is important. These are life decisions. He wants to be a Warrior forever, but they may not feel the same way on the front office, even though I think they do. It's just they want it to make sense financially, as opposed to just giving somebody the money just because they've been here this time and they've won 4 championships and all of that. Like, they need to be smart for the future moving forward. But what do you think about that as a thought?
That's an interesting point, because I wasn't thinking about that at all. But the more after you just said it, it's like looking at Golden State and maybe thinking, well, maybe potentially you pay Klay Thompson, you lock yourself down to changes that you can't make in the immediate future. And you want to make sure you're making the most out of Steph Curry's final years as an elite top tier NBA player. So it's something to think about down the line for sure, because he's the only guy of that core 3 who doesn't have that contract just yet. Who knows what happens, eh?
Yeah, It's gonna be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, look, no, they should. I know USCM don't like late shit. But how about yeah? I was thinking about this. Yeah. No, wow, fact it's already on my calendar. November 4th, the Saturday. Yeah, it should be fine. It's a 5 p.m. game. Yeah, I think it's like 5:30. So it'll be nice. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it should be interesting. Yeah. Wow, fact we got you. We got you. We'll do the game. It's a 5 p.m. game on a Saturday. That's calm. I can't lie. I'll do that. I saw it. It was on my calendar anyway. So I'm ready. I'm ready for that. Don't worry about it.
You know what's sweet, yeah. What's it called? I think in the UK, the NBA moved to what's it called? TNT Sports now. So
Yeah.
I can watch that. I'm cool.
Yeah. That's calm. It's calm. Yeah, because I got the TNT Sports. Bro, I was struggling to even get that thing on my TV. Bro, it's so funny, bro. I was struggling, bro. It just wouldn't allow me to sign in or nothing, bro. I was like, yo, what's going on? I had to call them up and like, yo, sort me out. Like, I don't know what's going on, but hey, let's move on to the final part of the show. We're gonna do a bit of rounding up of all the teams, some big performances from players and all of that good stuff there.
Hey,
but let's kick it off, man.
Before that roundup, real quick, real quick, I just saw something from Woj that said an ESPN story on NBA investigating whether 76ers and James Harden are violating new participation policy in opener versus Milwaukee. So the NBA are investigating both the Philadelphia 76ers and James Harden for potentially violating the new rules implemented by Adam Silver regarding player participation.
That's an interesting one, because obviously they got this new rule now in place, and the thing with the Sixers is that it's come out on both ends. It was more, Harden reported back ready to go on the plane, but then he wasn't allowed to go, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The team saying that no, we're not gonna allow you to go, and then obviously Moore's come out saying that he got to the airport, and then the airport security said that you're not allowed to board this flight. And so the thing that's interesting here is that it looks as if Harden is understanding the situation, that in this scenario you actually have to play. You can't sit out. You can't show up out of shape. He's coming and trained, and by all means, it was a personal issue. That's the way it's come out now, that his mother was ill, so he was there helping and caring for his mother. So that one, you can always respect that, of course. And he was ready to get straight back into it because it's his job. He's been paid for the first 41 games of the season. I think that's like $18 million or something like that. He's been paid, so he's ready to fulfill those games that he needs to go and play. And then obviously there's interest cooling from the Clippers, and I don't think that they really want to do that move. I know that Harden maybe wants to do, but I don't think they want to. It's just because they've got a good and settled camp. Like, you don't want to throw him into the mix there where it could disrupt things, despite the obvious talent that he has. But yeah, it should be interesting to see what happens in regards to that situation. But hey, let's kick it off, bro. OKC opening night win on the road against the Bulls. Chet Holmgren making his NBA debut as well. Give me your thoughts on the game, bro. Let me know, man. Shea, 31 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1 steal, 66% from the field. Talk to me, man.
Hey, it was a good game. We shot the ball out the park, bro. Chicago didn't have a good performance on offense, as we were shooting the ball lights out. Isaiah Joe, shout out to him. He's been one of the best shooters in the league since we picked him up, and he was showcasing his value again. 14 points off the bench. Shout out to Kaysen Wallace, rookie season, coming up with 5 of 5, perfect from the field, 13 points off the bench as well. So that's another guy that we can throw into this team, and he can play valuable minutes. Speaking about Shea picking up where he left off, averaged over 30 points per game last season. He's the leader of this team. He's the star of this team. And he's the guy that's going to help elevate this side to playoff contention. Obviously, we just barely missed out last season. So this year, there will be hopes that maybe we can get closer to playoff contention. And I was gassed with my predictions, and I'll stand by it. But yeah, Shea, really good performance. some of the plays, I mean, adjusting midair, finishing at the rim, step back, mid-range J's, the jumper's looking pure, man. For real, the jumper's looking pure. Ludo, we all know what he's about. He knocked down a couple crucial shots in the game as well. Great on defense. Jalen Williams picking up where he left off in his rookie year. I believe he was second overall in rookie of the year voting. Josh Giddey, we know what he's about. We saw him in the offseason play elite for Australia in for his international side. And he would have improved based off of that. SGA was there, Lou Dort, load of these guys. And as for Chet Holmgren, happy to see him play his first NBA game. He knocked down a couple threes. I love that we're not just forcing him into you've got to produce this now. We're letting the game come to Chet because this is his rookie season, even though some people won't agree with that. This is an official rookie season. So we need to be careful with how we use him, how much responsibility we provide with him on offense. And I don't think we need to give him a large amount of responsibility on offense just yet. He played 25 minutes against the Bulls. And I think that will gradually rise as he gets used to it. But he's showcasing his ability on offense. His first bucket was a turnaround J in the mid-range area. It was a sweet move, and we've seen that a few times from him. His ability to get to the rim, his ability to knock down shots from the 3-point line, but also the energy that he provides on defense. We can almost allow him to be that guy who on defense provides the energy, gets those blocks, gets those stops, and then gets the team running. We even saw him pickpocket a couple times and set the team off on a fast break. So for him, it's not going to be a situation where he's going to be forced into being that offensive juggernaut or being that big time player for OKC. We know he will eventually, but it's just about gradually rising to the occasion when that time comes. And then there's other guys like Aaron Wiggins, who we haven't spoken about. Davis Bertans, who didn't play in the game but can play a valuable role. There's so many guys that we, Micic that we picked up. He decided he wanted to come to the league. He came over to OKC. We signed him. He's another guy that can play a valuable role for us in certain games when we'll need him. So it's a well-rounded side, still a young side, of course, that has plenty of growth. It's interesting because Sam Presti, we have all these picks, and Sam Presti's been asked about, what you're going to do with them, whether you're cash in some of those picks to bring in top level players. And he's made it clear that he wants to see the value of the team that's in front of him currently in OKC. And I think that's very important to provide these players with the confidence and the platform to say, listen, I want to see you become as good as you think you can be and as good as we think you can be. And a lot of these guys have a decent to high ceiling. So it's about just executing on that growth, being a better team and making those growths individually and as an entire squad this season. I think they will do that. And it's encouraging signs against the Chicago Bulls, who will have their struggles this season as well. But
for sure.
Hey man, first game, first win. You can't start off much better than that.
I mean, look, Shea's got the deepest bag in the NBA for me. I can't lie to you, bro. I seen him put Patrick Williams on skates, Kobe White on skates in that game. Yeah, like, hey, the guy can attack, man. Like, yeah, man, it's gonna be another good season for him. Like, he's gonna run some people close for this in this MVP race for sure. Because the performances that you guys are gonna be putting up, like the team want another year under their belt, especially for your starters as well. Like, I think it's going to be a good year for you. I think you're definitely making a run for that playoff spot for sure. It's going to be a battle, to try and get into that top 6. Do you know what I'm saying? But we'll see what happens, because there's just a lot. There's a lot going on, and in health permitting, it's going to be a very, very wild west again for another season. Well, I fact to hear saying that they moved to TNT Sports, but not all games, 9 random games a week, so it's all good. Keep the league pass as a backup, but BT will cover all the playoffs and competitions, but not the regular season. That's fine. I mean, I'll catch it on TNT Sports, but I just stick to league pass because it's just a lot easier. I can't lie on my TV. I just can just put it on and watch any game whenever I want. It's calm. But the Heat, The Heat, yeah, this is the Heat, yeah. Hey,
If
this is
only
what I saw.
Chino, man.
This is what I saw, bro. This is Kyle Lowry played 32 minutes
Mm.
and just for 1 point. He got. I made sure that I made sure that I let Chino know what it was because he watched the game, obviously, but his actual stat line was 0 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and obviously because he didn't score any points, he had 0% from the field and 0% from free. Like they won the game last night against the Detroit Pistons, but it was a close one, 130 to 129. What do you think about the Miami Heat for this season? Of course, there's a little bit of a we know about the Heat culture. We know that they set a standard for every player coming into that system. They work their butts off, to try and to reach the heights that no one ever expects them to. But you have to think, that this won't continue much longer if they don't have, like what Pat Riley kind of was doing before, where he had some players that you can build a foundation on, but you have stars. You have to have stars or star level players to be able to continue. And of course, I'm not saying that Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo aren't stars, but they needed another one. Tyler Hero's been in trade talks from the moment that he he screwed his face up at LeBron James in the finals. Since then, he's been on the trade block, but he's still been retained. He might be a little bit angry, a little bit pissed off now. So, what do you think about the Miami Heat for this season? And how do you think they're going to fare?
You know what? I feel like I'd be a mug to myself to say that Miami are gonna struggle in it because they always find a way. But at the same time, I can see where they needed that star, as you said, bro. That Dame, that Bradley Beal. They opted not to get him, obviously, and that trade would have been very difficult. But Damian Lillard, he ends up going to the Milwaukee Bucks. They missed out on him. That's another guy they missed out on. And Heat fans, Chino was upset. Heat fans, I'm sure to this day, are upset, especially if he starts showing out in the Bucks uniform. For Kyle Lowry, I feel like because he's Kyle Lowry, he's gonna get a lot of attention. He's still their starting point guard, and there's still a little bit of responsibility for him to provide a certain level of offense. And he has been inconsistent as the age has gotten up there, as the injuries and the fitness has kind of gone down a little level. So it's tough, right? You have Kyle Lowry as your starting point guard. There's always going to be that scrutiny because Miami right now, their ceiling, no matter what, is getting to the finals. So any player that's underperforming to a certain extent, you're going to be exposed. And Kyle Lowry is Kyle Lowry. He's always been that guy from the Toronto days. People have been getting onto him, and it's no different now. Unfortunately, he's just not the player that he used to be when he used to produce at a high level. He'll give you those games every now and then, but that's just not who Kyle Lowry is. So if Miami Heat fans are looking at Kyle Lowry to be a consistent, 15-point per game scorer, I'm not sure if he's that guy. Maybe he can bring a level of leadership. He can take charges, get those defensive plays, but he's not going to be that guy to be that crucial guy who's going to provide you with offense, who's going to construct the team in a way where you can get assists, get rebounds, bring the ball up the court consistently for however many 30-odd minutes. He played 31 minutes against the Detroit Pistons. Lowry's not going to be that guy for you. So it's difficult. You got Tyler Hero. You got Caleb Martin, Jimmy Butler, who we know is not going to exert full energy in a regular season. So you're going to have to share the load. Bam Adebayo, I know we mocked him a lot in the past, Adebayo and all that stuff there, but I'm sure he will step up on the defensive end. I'm sure he'll step up at times on the offensive end too. But who's going to be the guys to support him and Jimmy Butler? Once again, Tyler Hero, 7 of 24 shooting in that first game. Those are things that we've become accustomed to seeing from him. Inconsistency shooting-wise. Duncan Robertson had himself a good game off the bench, but we know also that he'll struggle from time to time shooting the ball. Caleb Martin, he was 1 for 7 in this game. And I know you have a lot of qualms with him and how he decided to turn up against Boston. Man. So let it be known. You know what I mean? Let it be known because there's you can't have inconsistencies like that and expect to have a good regular season. Expect to be a championship caliber side. And I know Miami can get there. But once they get there, what has happened? What has happened on the both occasions they've got to the NBA finals? They've had nothing. They've had nothing left. Ian Beale settings, nothing left.
Trust me, man. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season for Miami Heat fans. I think they're going to go through the ups and downs that they did last season. To be honest with you, it'll be another one of those. They get to the playoffs, and then there's going to be an expectation that they do a similar thing as they did last season. But it's going to. I think a lot of it is down to, you know, the players performing at the level that I think they can. And a little bit of luck as well along the way, because you know there's certain things that happen along that playoff run that allowed them to take advantage, of course, with the ability of their players showing up in the crucial moments. But they ran out of steam when they got to the finals because you've exerted all of that energy, you've gone through all those moments, only to end up against the best team in the NBA, and that's just facts. That was the best team that they faced, and at that point when there's just too much going on, they can really do what they need to do to you, and you know they only won the one game out of that. You know that's that thing, but. You know, it's interesting. What I've had to say, and the Pistons have no stars, and they made it that close. Shout out to Monty, had them young boys hungry for sure.
Yeah, shout out to Monty. Cade Cunningham had a 30 piece. One thing that was interesting, I was looking back at it. James Wiseman, DMP in this game. A couple days ago, it was revealed he didn't get his rookie extension. The Pistons opted to not give him his rookie extension. Is there a pathway for him to find himself in the NBA? Because we know all the adversities he faced in college, not being able to play as many games as he would have hoped to, and then he comes to the NBA on a Golden State team that it's difficult. It's difficult to find your way in a side that are already contending, looking for championships, looking for players that are going to give them instant value. We've seen that with Jonathan Kuminga. It's been difficult for him to get into this team. It's been difficult for even Moses Moody, who I think has had some productive years in Golden State. It's been very difficult for those young guys. Jordan Poole, he got traded away because, and I know there were other factors leading into that, but even then with his playing style, he struggled at times. James Wiseman, a lot of people said this is an opportunity for him to reset. This is an opportunity for him to get some playing time and prove himself finally. He's getting DMPs in the first game of the season.
I don't know, man. Like, he's another one that they've already started to catapult him into that bust category, yeah, with alongside the likes of Cam Reddish and stuff, where for all, what was he, a number 2 pick or was he a number 1? I don't remember. He was definitely a top 3 pick.
Yeah, top. You see. He was not. Let's see. Yeah, he was number 2 because Anthony Edwards went number 1.
So, like, with all of the kind of, you know, stuff surrounding that being that the number 2 player in the country make it into the NBA, yeah, he definitely found himself in a situation where he was going to find it difficult to make it through that Warrior system. And then obviously we saw him drop down to the G League. I think it was last season that he dropped down to the G League, if I'm not mistaken. Drops down to the G League, and then obviously he didn't really perform that great there either. And then when at the first opportunity the Warriors could get rid of him, they did that. Goes to the Pistons where, you know, it's a different vibe, it's a different mentality, it's a different environment there where we're thinking, okay, less pressure. So that means with less pressure, you can perform to the best of your ability. And that's not necessarily happening. I think it's on him to showcase that he's willing to do the hard work. Because obviously, if you make it to the league, you're obviously talented. But you know, the hard work is the other side of it. Where if he's not doing that, if he's not being humble, you know, and doing what he needs to do, then he's not going to be picked. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you don't just you don't get to be you don't get in here on merit. Like you know what I'm saying? Like oh yeah, I was a number 2 pick. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. To veteran coaches and stuff like that, they're not going to pick you just based off of that. You actually have to put in the work. You have to be really dedicated to this because this is your bread and butter. You need to be able to perform. So I don't know what's going to happen to him, but he needs to put himself around people like Asar Thompson, man. 5 blocks in his NBA debut in that game yesterday. Tied for the most by a non-center in NBA history. Like him and his brother, his twin brother, are looking like they're also going to be candidates for Rookie of the Year this year. It's going to be interesting to see what happens over there in Detroit with Monty Williams taking over that head coaching role. Cade Cunningham obviously had some injury struggles with his, I think it's his calf or his shin over the last couple of, well, not last season mainly, you know. So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see him now back to 100%. But let's talk about Boston sneaking through 4-point victory over the Knicks at MSG. They were shooting lights out. They shot 46% from 3 yesterday. Like they was going crazy. Emmanuel quickly off the bench was cooking us. But Kristaps Porzingis back at where it all started, man. 30-point game, 8 rebounds, 4 blocks, made 5 3-pointers, especially a clutch one late in the fourth quarter as well, after the assist from JT. But yeah, JT obviously leading the scoring, like he was cooking as well. That was a grown man game from JT yesterday on the road, man. He was just making it look too easy. But one thing that maybe when I was watching the game, I was like, we were getting late in that third quarter, and this kind of like, well, no, not even that, maybe a little bit earlier than that. You know, I think Joe Mazzulla wants to play with pace, and when we slow down, it's just not it's just not the same. When we play with pace, we can really kill teams, and that's just something that I think is just across the league wide. When a team plays with pace, and if you've got a lot of talent in your team, you're gonna really cause a problem to people to your opponents, right? And so that's just one thing that I noticed, that the pace slowed down and it allowed the Knicks to come back into the game there. So I'm just gonna be I'm gonna keep my eye on it, like, because I want to see us play with pace all the time. But then I got to speak about JB, man. Like that fourth quarter, he made 3 very bad decisions that led to turnovers, that led to the Knicks actually, scoring their points that put them in the lead. And we really needed some crucial moments from Kristaps to kind of get us out of the hole. And what I've had to say in here, Celtics were leading. We should have been up by like 20, like the way we were playing. Celtics was leading and let the Knicks back in. Am I concerned? Game 1, I won't be concerned too much. It's only game 1. I think we got the team we have, like, especially when I look at from a defensive side, we looked way more engaged on the defensive end yesterday, where I think maybe there was a misunderstanding of Joe Mazzulla and the way he wants to play. Like, he's happy to score points. However, it's just, yes, there was a larger emphasis on the 3 ball, but like with now a little bit more preparation, I think the team also taking responsibility and saying that we need to be better on defense, and seeing that yesterday, then bringing in somebody like Drew Holiday who what he can do on the defensive end. He really limited Julius Randle, RJ Barrett whenever he had them on certain possessions. And that's somebody that would defend as much as he can 1 through 5. Derek White had a bit of a struggle, because he racked up a lot of fouls. I think he had 5 fouls in the end, but like he accumulated a few of them pretty early. I think he accumulated 3 within the first half. So he was already like on a bit of a shaky kind of level and had to sit out the game a lot. Al Horford, I like the role that he's going to be playing this season a little bit more. Like, he'll start some games, he'll come on in the games, he'll contribute on all these different levels, and his leadership's going to be crucial once again this season. So all in all, like, I'm happy. I mean, you're not going to get a team generally shooting lights out like the Knicks did in the game. So for the most part, I think we'll be comfortable, coast through the regular season, and then when it's playoff time, it's playoff times. But Kristaps going back and getting a 30-point game to MSG, they were booing him. they were doing all sorts of stuff trying to get a rise out of him, but he just was as cool as you like. And different level. Like, this is not the same Kristaps that everyone's seen before. I think a lot of people were, questioning and doubting, this move by the Celtics. But when I watched him, I mean, especially last year, I caught a few games with the Wizards and stuff, like, just to see what they were about. And he looked comfortable there. So, now you put him into this kind of a larger situation where there's a lot more pressure. He just seems like he's ready for this now. At 27 years old, I think he's gone through his struggles in the league, and he knows now what he wants to do. He wants to win, and I think he's done really well in this first game. So, yeah, man, it should be interesting for the season.
100% credit to Kristaps, credit to JT, man. Some of his, like you're saying, the bag with Shea, JT has a serious bag, bro. Some of them moves, the side step, the step back, they're nasty, and like his ability to create space, even in tight situations, just Jason Tatum, what a player, man. But the discussion I wanted to have with this Boston Celtic team is balance. JB struggles shooting, Drew Holiday struggles shooting, and we have seen those games from time to time from Drew Holiday with the Milwaukee Bucks. But I feel like he's going to have to find that balance in terms of scoring and great defense, which we know he's going to offer on a nightly basis. Jaylen Brown more so. He came off a tough playoff period. A lot of people speaking about his inability to, it was left hand in particular, but ball handling overall. A lot of turnovers, making mistakes, just not good at all. So I think he just needs to find himself once again. In this season, you'll see the best of Jaylen Brown. But once again, it is also a situation where you need to kind of look at Kristaps, look at Drew Holiday, and get them comfortable in this lineup, comfortable in this team, and then refine yourself and implement how you're going to be able to get to your spots in this offense, get to scoring. Because, Joe Mazzulla, you said it, bro. He wants his team shooting 3-pointers at a historic rate. I think at their best, there were some games where Boston was shooting lights out. At their worst, inefficient shooting, to say the least. And what are you going to be able to do when you're not shooting the ball well? We know Jason Tatum has a really good mid-range shot, but he's not been utilizing it enough because of the way Boston are playing. So I do like when Jason Tatum gets in the mid-post, tries to get a smaller defender and take advantage of it. Jaylen Brown can do that as well. You can put Kristaps Porzingis on the block, especially against mismatches, and allow him to do his work. So you have a few guys in there now who are multifaceted scorers and can do it on a consistent basis. So it's now about Joe Mazzulla to have a bit of variety in the way that he coaches the ball and give his players a bit more freedom as well. And I think the regular season will be perfect to experiment on that, because for the most part, it will be tough to beat this Boston side if you have a Kristaps scoring, if you have JT, if you have Jaylen Brown, if you have Drew Holiday, Derek White as well, and then you got Al Horford coming off the bench. He could sneakily have a really good year off the bench as a leader, as a role player, as a sixth man. We've spoken about Sam Hauser, his ability to shoot off the ball. Peyton Pritchard, we're not too sure what's going on there, so watch this space. But he's always determined to try and prove a point on why he should be getting more minutes. Luke Cornet and Co. So there are a lot of guys who can provide quality shooting, quality scoring. But it's about finding that balance. And I feel like with Boston, we always question whether they're able to put it together at the right time. The best I've ever seen this Boston team look was under Ime Udoka, when they were able to figure it out in that last stage of the season and in the playoffs after a tough campaign. Joe Mazzulla is a very young coach, and he's going to have to figure it out because he's been given the trust by the board of Boston Celtics, by the hierarchy. So they're going to give him the trust, they're going to give him the time, and I think even the players will give him the benefit of the doubt. I remember last season, people backing him and saying, look, he just needs to be more confident in the way his coaches, be more confident in his philosophy. And even him explaining that there were breakdowns in communications at times, that can't happen. Not this year. That needs to be something that is out of the equation this season. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to see some growth from Joe Mazzulla, I think, and the players in Boston when it comes to coming together and creating a winning brand, because we always talk about it. Time goes on. Time goes
Mm.
on and on and on. And this Boston team will want to win a championship sooner rather than later, especially with the moves that they've made this offseason to bring in two elite players in their respective positions. So now is the time to put that together. And I know a lot of eyes will be on Jason Tatum. A lot of eyes will be on Jaylen Brown as well, because this is a big year for him in terms of his growth.
Yeah, I mean the Joe Mazzulla one is interesting because obviously last year, obviously coming in on the eve of the season, literally had no time to prepare to be able to put together the season that he was able to in his first year is actually amazing. Yeah, when you kind of think of it from that level. But like I saw stuff from the owner of the team, Wick Grosbeck, yeah, and he was just like he was there in the game 7 against Miami, and he was like, he looked at the team and he was like, yeah, we're not bringing these guys, we're not bringing everybody back. We've got something's got to change. And there's been a trust from the ownership group to Brad Stevens on the basketball operations side, and just like, like with Joe Mazzulla, like they had to make that decision quickly, but because they knew that they had somebody in there who they trusted and said this is a special coach, we might as well put him into that position. And then they are aligned in terms of the way they want to play basketball. So that also works. And then when you now make the moves that you've made now, it just makes it a lot easier for these elite level players to just fall in line because everybody's aligned at one level. The ownership group, the basketball operations, and then the coaching staff. And then when you bring in the coaches that they've been able to bring in as well, specifically people like Sam Cassell, who's already been there, done it, won the championship with Boston in 2008, part of that squad. Then the fact that, Mazzulla sent an email out to every single ex-Celtics player and told them, come into the Auerbach Center and watch us train, help us like as much as you can. So even last week or this week, we've seen Rondo there at the training facility, just there helping out guys, just talking to guys like, the likes of Eddie House or Paul Pierce. Obviously been working with JT all summer. I don't know if Kevin Garnett's gone back yet, but I'm sure he'll have an opportunity at some point during the season and stuff. But yeah, like that is what I think is going to be key. The coaching side of things, the coaching and the culture side of things, because obviously they've spoken about how, we've lost the heart or soul of the team with Marcus Smart leaving. We've lost a bit of that defensive identity with Grant Williams leaving and Rob Williams leaving and stuff like that. But ultimately, I think, what Joe Mazzulla is trying to do is just build or rebuild the culture. The culture set is being set from him. He's not allowing the players alone to do that. He has to set that. He has to stamp his authority there. And then I think everything's kind of aligned itself to be, all right, now it's down to the players on the court to deliver. And if they can do it this season, that one, I don't know. I say, yeah, playoffs. I say playoffs. But after that, I don't know. Because this team, even last night, they showed us what they can do. You'll be like, yeah, I love this team at the beginning. And during the game, you're just cursing at your TV because you're just like, what's going on? How are we not 20 up? But they come out with a win in the end. So we'll see if they can continue, in that same vein and win these games. But all right, quick roundup, like before we end this show, man. Obviously, there was some stuff, man. Max Strus, on his Cavs debut, 7 3-pointers made, man. What do you think of his acquisition by the Cavs, and what do you think he's going to be able to contribute to them this
I think
season?
it's very shrewd business, because we've seen Max Strus have these games for Miami where he can erupt offensively beyond the arc from the 3-point line, and he can also put the ball on the floor. So it's another guy for the Cleveland Cavaliers who can do that, another offensive threat, and a guy that will compete on both ends of the floor, which I think the Cavaliers needed. More competition, more competitive edge to them, because it's clear after their playoff appearance last season that they kind of lacked in that experience, in that competitive edge, and a guy in Max Strus brings that.
Yeah, man. I think I think he's gonna be pretty valuable for them in terms of his experiences. They don't really have much as a young team, um, and it showed. They were a bit naive in the way they played in the playoffs specifically last season, but in the regular season they were doing work. They got a really good team, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens in regards to what the Cavs do. But Max Strus, great acquisition. They also brought in George Niang as well, who I think is going to be great off the bench for them. Probably have a bit of a larger role. He can hit those corner threes too. So we'll see. We'll see. Dennis Schroeder. Sorry, I said Devin Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder. He got. They said the first player to score more than 20 points on his Raptors debut since Kawhi Leonard. He was like, "Yeah, we're not doing that. We are not starting that."
He said he was there sitting in his glasses like, "Nah, no, don't do that to me, big man." And all respect, due.
Trust me. I mean, what do you think of the Raptors this season? Obviously, it's going to be a big. It's going to be a big season for Scotty Barnes after winning the Rookie of the Year first year, having a dip last year. What do you think of this new look Raptors side without Fred VanVleet in there, and how now the responsibilities in the hands of Dennis Schroeder coming off the back of a World Cup win?
I'm sorry, Toronto. I have no thoughts. I'm not expecting anything. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dennis. Shout out to you for doing what you did with Germany, fam. But he said it. We're not starting that, bro. Yeah. We're not starting that. Toronto, affirm it, innit? Because you're not up there right now. You're trying your best. Masai Ujiri. I know he's a guy that always wants to win, but he's had to kind of swallow the pill in the last couple of years. He's lost a few guys, like you said, Fred VanVleet. And they've got decent pieces. Jakob Poeltl is a guy that people always say should be playing on a team that is contending for a championship because of his qualities. Scotty Barnes, he's a young player that they're expecting to develop. OG Anunoby is another guy that may be in trade talks at some point this season coming up to the deadline. Pascal Siakam as well. We're not sure about his long-term future with the Toronto Raptors. So there potentially could be a lot of change coming for this Raptors team soon. I do expect a lot of change as well because I'm not too sure of the direction the team is heading in its current state. So for now, I don't think they're a team that you can say is going to shock a lot of people or is going to even contend to make the play-in. I don't think they're at that level. I don't think they're looking to be that kind of team right now, unless you want to be in mediocrity street, like where the Washington Wizards were for many, many years, for example. And they just got out of that.
They're still there. They're going to be there. The stuff that Jordan Poole's doing, I don't know. I have no idea, bro. He's on this. I'm not passing to anybody. It's all me.
Hey, listen, what's that song they play when he has a good game? The honey to me looking at me. You might go crazy.
He might do. Luka, 33 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists last night in their victory over the San Antonio Spurs. Wemby made his debut as well. What do you think of this season, man? Luka, man, he's got to step it up this season, man. Help them. They can't miss out on another playoffs again. They can't.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, shout out to Wow. We're gonna get to your comment in a second. And shout out to man like Vanzinho. Hope you're doing well, man.
That guy's freaky, man.
Yo,
that guy's freaky, man.
I don't want to speak on it, fam, because I watched Stephen A. Stephen A. looked bewildered, fam. He looked like he seen a ghost, bro, when he was talking about it on this podcast. I don't even want to touch on it, fam. Let the man enjoy his time in Taiwan, and his Taiwan. But look, Luka, we know who Luka is. He was knocking down some clutch buckets as well in that game. And I'm hoping that the Dallas Mavericks can be a better team this year with Kyrie, with Luka. How are they going to find that balance? Jason Kidd, we all know he's a defensive-minded coach, but he doesn't have a defensive-minded team per se. This is going to have to be a team that thrives on offense. So it's going to be interesting to see how they fare as the season goes on, whether Luka's going to be able to pull off those heroics with a Kyrie Irving. We shall see. And as for the Spurs, I mean, shout out to Wemby. He got into a bit of foul trouble in the game, which kind of hampered it overall. So yeah, man, but he was able to come good later in the game. I will say that from Victor Wembanyama. So great highlights for him in his first NBA game, and more to grow on for the San Antonio Spurs. I've been high on Devin Vassell and a lot of the guys they have on that team as they continue to grow. Yeah, for the Dallas Mavericks, they're another team I'm kind of confused with, because based off of them kind of saying, you know what, we'll take a back seat. We're not even going to try and get into the play in last year. I was kind of like, okay, what's going on there? Because surely you want to compete. Luka, you want to compete. Kyrie wants to compete. And it's not like you're really going to be doing anything. Well, I guess they wanted to take a step back because of the stuff they'll get in the draft. But now, like, Luka doesn't care about that.
Yeah.
I like, he wants to compete. Luka Doncic wants to compete. He wants to win games. We've seen him on the highest stages, performing at a high level against the likes of Phoenix, against the likes of the Clippers. So he doesn't want to wait his whole career to be in a situation where he's there to win a championship. He wants to win now. Shout out to, I think it was Derek Lively, who played his first game, and he had a really good game. And Luka was happy with his performance. He said he was amazing. So shout out to him. Hopefully he can give them that production in the center position. You know, really big 7'1", athletic. But apart from that, I'm looking at their side. They got Seth Curry back on the team, Maxi Kleber. The biggest thing is fitness, and keeping those guys fit, because a lot of guys were injured as well. Grant Williams will be big for them defensively, I think, and a guy that can knock down a shot as well. Tim Hardaway Jr., we're looking at his consistency levels. How consistent can he be on the offensive end, knocking down shots? We ask this every single year. The likes of Dwight Powell, can you stay fit? For me, there's too many questions regarding the overall availability of the crucial players, the role players in this team, for them to be well-rounded, for them to be a dangerous side in the playoffs. But I could be proven wrong.
Yeah. And then a couple more pieces, man. Cam Thomas, I got a shout out my guy Cam Thomas, man, off the ball. 36 points, yeah. Like, they lost the game, innit, by one. Obviously, clutch moment from Donovan Mitchell at the end of the game. But Cam Thomas still be proving these guys wrong, man. I just don't get it. Why is he not starting these games? I don't get it at all. 36 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists off the bench. It's crazy. But, hey, I'm hoping he gets a bigger role this season on the Nets, man.
Hey, just don't be messing up in those post-game interviews, young blood.
Yeah, you just can't do that, man. And then the Clippers getting their win. Paul George with 27, Kawhi Leonard with 23, Zubac with 20, Russell Westbrook 14 assists, 11 points. They got the W in that game. Is this their year? Can they all stay healthy in the other side of the crypto.com arena?
Listen, all I'm gonna say is this: prayers, man. Pray that man can stay fit. Because if there's one team that will beat the allegations of the Adam Silver tax, it's the Los Angeles Clippers, bro. And I don't want to see that for them this year. I want to see Paul George balling out. I want to see Kawhi Leonard balling out and staying healthy, most importantly. Because I don't want to see the guy dropping 30 in a playoff game and then coming off injured and not being able to play. We want to see Kawhi Leonard at his best for however many years we have him at his best. And Russell Westbrook providing energy, getting assists, being that guy who can get stops on the defensive end and get this team on a fast break. We love to see it. I said earlier, I'm excited about Bones Highland. I think he brings some more competitive edge to this Clippers side. He wants to grow. He wants to improve as a player. Saw him get that behind the back pass, assist to Westbrook for the jam. There's a lot of energy going on. Terrence Mann, what can he do? How can he improve? Because I feel like in this scenario, he's kind of suffered the most in terms of being a little stagnant in terms of his growth. So I really want him, because at one point we were looking at him and Tyrese Maxey as two guys that were similar and could make that jump and be crucial players for their respective teams. And we've seen Maxey go up here, and I feel like Terrence Mann is kind of hovering, you know? So hopefully he can improve over the course of this season, given the opportunity, and we shall see.
Well, hey, that's the roundup, man. That's the roundup. We got one question here from, or one update from Wow Factor real quick before we end the show. Just got an update on the Clippers giving up on Harden for now, unless the Sixers give in. The problem is Harden is just going to sit on the bench, not to get fined. I mean, the Sixers are crazy. This man is not going to give 100%. Yeah, he might not give 100%, but he's going to show up at least. That's the one thing we know. He's going to show up because there's
what he's got against him. He said, I came to the plate. You rejected me.
Trust me. Because look, he's going to get fines and stuff like that. So he's going to make sure he shows up. And at least somebody will be able to. I mean, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder where he gets traded to. You know, if it's going to be the Clippers in the end, or will it be somewhere else? Will we get up in the morning here in the UK, random Woj bomb talking about he's gone to Toronto, bruv? We don't know.
James Harden to Miami Heat.
We don't know, but we'll see. Hey, well, this is the end of the show, people. Man, I got a big up man like CM once again joining me. Make sure you go follow him on all the socials. Make sure you go subscribe to him, CM22ENT, on YouTube, on Twitch as well. Woo! NBA season is back. I think I might do it. You know, I can't lie. Tomorrow I might do that Miami Heat game. You know, Celtics Miami Heat.
No more.
I don't know in it. I'm not sure. We'll see in it. Like I know they want it. I know Chino wants it, but I'm not sure. But we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, big up people, man. Like, thank you for everyone that's been here in the chat from the beginning. Appreciate the support so much. Make sure you're hitting that like button, that subscribe button as well if you're new. The Big Three is back for the start of this season to the end of this season. So make sure you stay tuned to all the content that we're going to give you guys. Big up to Chino as well, man. And we know he's not here right now. He's sorting out a lot of stuff. He's busy. He needs to sort out life, man. Life admin is important, people. But yeah, we'll be back next week, people. Have a good one. Peace.
Peace.